Jacqueline Rhodes. Scott Sidlow. Jenny Sachs.
I'm sorry, I'm here. Scott's here.
Oh, okay, thank you. Jenny Sachs. David Director.
I'm here.
Thank you. Sean Stansel.
Hi, I'm here.
Thanks, Sean. Becca Yurkovich. Cephas Richardson.
Present.
Thank you. Crystal Gauld. Okay. Francine Locke.
Here.
Ed Orner. Mark Manfrey.
Here.
Thank you. Thomas Schaefer.
Here.
Michael McNichol. Ed McGargy.
Here.
And I don't know if Laura connected yet. Laura Goodrich Cairns. She'll be here later.
Steve Clark texted that he is here.
Oh, awesome. Okay, thank you.
Somewhere here. He is here.
Okay.
Carol, I'm here too.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. All right, good. Jenny Sachs, I just want to confirm Jenny Sachs is not here. Okay. All right, so it looks like we do have quorum. That's great. So I'll share my screen again just so we can take care of the, well, actually, we're still in the welcome part of the agenda. So, all right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to have an interactive question. So I will share my screen for that. So the interactive question is, so what you do is you go onto your phones or open another window in your browser. So you go to www.menti.com and you input the code 30892480. So again, it's www.menti.com and the code is 30892480. Name one thing you do to protect the environment that you wish everyone in the world would do. Just one. Name one thing that you do to protect the environment that you wish everyone in the world would do. So again, www.menti.com. And the code is 30892480. Okay, great answer so far. Let's see. Vote climate. Yeah, I guess with any like election, local elections, national elections, let's vote for the climate and have that happen throughout the world. Stream cleanups, bring your own bottle, reusable water bottle. Clean up our streams, recycle. Right, vote for candidates who support the environment, avoid plastic water bottles, minimize waste, no littering, conserve water, be plant-based, use reusable
yeah, that
bags.
was supposed to be use renewable energy.
Oh.
Somehow they got separated.
Oh, I see. Okay. All right. Thanks for clarifying that. Use renewable energy. Let's see. Go outside as much as possible. Bring your own bag. Air seal and insulate. Drive electric cars. Plant trees and natives. Renewables. Now, I guess, wouldn't it be great to just imagine the world, that the whole world is doing this? But I think the trend is there and things are getting better. Plant. Okay. Let's see how many people answered this.
Carol, for some reason, I can't get on Mark Manfrey here, and I will weigh in here and give a verbal that our department is doing a lot to protect the stream bank areas and some of our waterways. So that's a way how we are protecting the environment.
That's excellent. Yeah, stream bank restoration. Very good. Recycle clothing. That's a neat one. Great. So I actually saved our question from our last meeting. I don't think I emailed it to all of you yet, but I'll make sure when I send that to you, I'll also send this to you because it has like a lot of great suggestions on here. So, okay. Well, thanks for doing that. I thought it was fun to kind of start with that, and it's kind of neat for all of us to share. So I will share my screen again for the meeting minutes here. So next is approval of the meeting minutes, and oops, oh my gosh, sorry about that. Sorry. Thought I had the meeting minutes open. Okay. All right. So here are the meeting minutes. They were emailed out already. Does anyone need?
I'll make a motion, Carol.
Oh, thank you.
McCarty, that we do the meeting minutes as distributed.
Thank you, Ed. Would someone like to second that?
I second.
Great, thank you. All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstain? Okay, so moved. The meeting minutes from our last meeting are approved. Next item on our agenda is Chief Sustainability Officer update.
Thank you. Going to share my screen for my slide deck. Okay. So very slow today, I'm sorry. Right, hopefully you can see it.
Yes.
Right. Great, thank you. So there's a lot going on right now, particularly around the federal grant money, and Kathy Spar is here today to share an update on that. So there's tons of meetings going on, a lot happening. But I just want to say it's my 1-year anniversary, January 25th, and I'm so grateful to be a member of this commission and to be with the county. I just want to say thank you all so much for having me here, and I really enjoy the work. So here's an update on Public Works and our capital improvement program. Our new Public Works Director, Danielle Floyd, is starting on February 28th. We're very excited. At that time, we'll start launching our capital budget call and statement of need form process to get from the departments what their capital asset purchase needs are for the year. And so council approved the largest capital improvement program in the county's history, I believe, which was $40 million for 2022. So that is going to be a great help in our sustainability efforts with regards to energy, open green spaces, preserving open space and trails, and all of the good work we're trying to accomplish here. And so if you're interested in seeing what is presently on the capital improvement program, fiscal year 22, you can just check out this website or just go to delcopa.gov and look it under budget. Another task that's going to happen is our facilities master plan is going to be developed this year, and that is going to be based upon that facility condition and needs assessment data that was shared with everybody before. So we're going to have a really data-driven capital improvement program and facilities master plan. Another update here is we are working, I'm actually going to be attending a stakeholder meeting with the Sustainable Energy Fund and Philadelphia Energy Authority. They're holding a webinar pretty much, but it's a stakeholder meeting because you may be aware that there is some legislation going through that could add the multifamily and indoor air quality and resiliency as factors to the CPACE program. That means that that program, which allows for the loan for a property to be attached to the tax bill of a building would apply to more than just energy upgrades. So CPACE traditionally has been just for energy upgrades, such as, relighting or, weatherization, new HVAC system. This new legislation is really cool because it will also apply to multifamily buildings, apartment buildings, or it could be for measures that improve the indoor air quality of a facility, such as better outside air intakes, air filtration, and also resiliency. So these are the types of construction projects that would be able to be paid for with this type of loan program. And so SEF, which is the administrator of Delaware County CPACE program, is working with PEA, which is the Philadelphia Energy Authority, on this meeting to share with us what the thoughts are on what they're going to have to do to adjust or modify the guidelines. This is pretty cool. An upcoming webinar is this week at 7 o'clock. It's solarizing municipalities, and it's for municipal officials and environmental advisory council members to learn from those who have already done it or who are trying to do solarization projects. I'm actually going to present a small piece, and here are the other topics that are there. Some municipal solar projects that are going on, Upper Darby and Haverford. The Sol Smart certification is going to be discussed, Solarized Delco group purchasing, the Clean Energy Co-op, Delco-wide solar open. So that's going to be pretty nice. Please try to register for that. This was really an interesting webinar that I attended this past week. I wanted to share with you because there's a recording. This is a plastic bag and straw ban information session that was hosted by Media's EAC on Tuesday. And if you're interested in it, this is the link, and we will post this on our website for Sustainability Commission when we finish this recording. I mean, this meeting. It's been a long week, guys. And this is a very interesting thing we're working on too. I met with two folks from PJM Cities and Communities Coalition. I think I mentioned this at an earlier meeting, that we, as Delaware County, would like to participate in influencing policy that affects the grid. So we can do everything we can by purchasing RECs, which are the renewable energy credits, and also putting in our own solar panels, but we're still connected to this grid, this huge grid that is primarily made up of natural gas and coal. So we're trying to work with other municipal agencies in a coalition across the nation, pretty much. This is really the East Coast and some other folks, but to try to influence the decarbonization of the wholesale energy market. So I'm very excited about this. I'm submitting an application on behalf of Delaware County, and I will share with you the update when we find out if we get into this. And so once again, if you recall, we are a member, Delaware County is a member of the Regional Power Purchase Agreement Steering Committee. We went through an entire process of trying to get a consultant. There was an RFP process, and NLX is the consultant that is guiding this group of Delaware, Bucks, Chester, and Montgomery counties in trying to understand energy. And it relates all back to even the grid that I just mentioned. We're trying to understand electricity 101. How are we getting our electricity? How can we change this? How can we have alternative or clean energy? And how can we reduce our energy consumption collectively and have the best value? Because we are using taxpayers' money. So we want to make sure that we're getting the best value. So this is pretty interesting too. All of the work that we did with our facility condition and needs assessment that I've been sharing with you for the past year, we're working with the consultant that did this work to submit a proposal for a conference session for the Green Building United Sustainability Symposium that will be held on May 6th. The application or the conference session proposal is due on February 15th, and this is pretty much what we're sharing. This is the narrative that we're sharing. So wish us luck. It'll be interesting to share our story with others. We have our environmental planning manager here, Ann Stauffer. She's working on this EPA Enhanced Air Quality Monitoring application for a grant with the EPA. We're working with the DEP. We're writing the grant, but DEP is actually submitting this. We're writing the application, but it could be really interesting because we're trying to put together an air sampling plan for the Chester waterfront to identify levels of air pollution and how they may relate to sources in industry, as well as the traffic issue there. So it's about $100,000 to $500,000, and it primarily would be spent on air monitoring equipment and the folks, the technical people who would set that up, and a lot of community engagement and outreach. So that is due at the end of March. And Ann is here if you have any questions. Also, another item she's working on is the first countywide model ordinance for stormwater management. And this is pretty exciting. So we have a contract, council approved, with Cedarville Engineering to update the current generic Crum Creek model ordinance to comply with the new DEP language. And all the municipalities in Delaware County have to be compliant with this by September 30th of 2022. So this will be the first countywide model ordinance. If anybody has any questions, once again, Ann is here. Just a few quick items. We have our new sustainability intern here, Emily Riley from Westchester University. She will be presenting some LCAP, some of our climate greenhouse gas emission data and baseline data for our sustainability plan. She's also doing research on plastic bag ban ordinances countywide and doing a ton of other things that I asked her to do, and she's really wonderful. She will be presenting today. I attended a Marcus Hook EAC, and we have Melissa here also who was attending that. She works, she is in charge of our environmental unit of the DA's office. She was kind enough to get me included in this, and it was really an interesting conversation. This is a very unique EAC. They have industry partners that are involved, and they share updates with the EAC that are pretty detailed in terms of if they've had any air emissions, if they had any violations to their permits, and just hearing from also different community members, just sharing their concerns and interests. It's a very interesting EAC. So Melissa, thank you so much for getting me into that. I appreciate it. Also met with Keep Media Green folks, really wonderful guys, husband and wife who are very involved with media. And we were discussing the Orange Street lot and the proposed plans for that. They have some interesting ideas about a food forest and a public meeting pavilion. So thank you for sharing that information with me. I'm also going to be presenting at the Southeastern Delaware County Ministerium on 2/16, which is the Delco Interfaith Sustainability Network. I thought this was very interesting. They want to try to leverage their membership, their partners and folks in trying to create a more sustainable world through the interfaith community. So I'll be there on February 16th. Also working with Jim McLaughlin, who's on the call today too, he's from the Solid Waste Authority and just also a very concerned member within Delaware County, interested in sustainability. And we're collaborating with Widener University on an internship program. We had a meeting last week and it's a very promising project. Also next week, attending the Green Philly Symposium. So if you're able to attend that, it's pretty cool. That's all I have. If you have any questions, please share.
Francine, webinar for municipal solarization, can you send us a link for that? I know Swarthmore is interested.
Absolutely. I'll send it in the chat right now. Any other questions or thoughts? We have Ann Stauffer here once again, who has the information on the grant applications and that model ordinance, which is pretty cool. And we will be hearing from a few other folks today. Kathy Spar is going to talk about the grant funding, and Emily is going to share something else out also, our intern. But that's it. Thank you so much for listening. Oh, Melissa, I see you. You have your hand up.
Yeah. Hi. So can you, if you know anyway, can you talk a little bit more about how the air, or I guess either you or Kathy, how the air quality assessment is going to be done? Or can you speak to a little bit more about exactly what's being assessed and what the maybe the better question is what the objectives are in terms of the data?
Yeah, absolutely. I can jump in on the air quality monitoring.
Oh, thanks, Ann. Yeah.
We'll be looking at probably doing PM monitors, about 50 to 60 of them around the Chester to Marcus Hook environmental justice areas. There's a bit of a data gap of what's actually there. So the hope is to eventually come up with mitigation strategies, but we need to see what's there and what the health outcomes are in those areas as well to be able to suggest those mitigation strategies. But we'll get temporal density, which is really exciting. I mean, there will be so much data coming out of these monitors, and the plan is to keep that data open so that researchers anywhere can mine this data and come up with, conclusions and do studies of their own.
Okay, so there'll be fixed monitors or mobile monitors?
Fixed. These are PM monitors that will be on poles. We're currently working with Julie and GIS to find like public properties to place them on and whatnot.
Wow.
And private. We want to get into the neighborhoods.
Will they stay there after the study to continue?
Oh, yes. The idea is that they will stay as long as they're running.
Wow. Awesome. All right. Thank you.
Seasonal, and we'll get seasonal data out of it too. I mean, a year is the hope.
I have one question. Would these be suitable for enforcement? Like, or are these just for data? Because I know there's two different kinds of quality of monitors, like what the EPA uses.
These are not so much for enforcement. They are data gathering to make recommendations for what could be needed in the area as far as regulations go. Maybe, I don't know. We have to see what the data tells us, but it's really to fill that data gap.
Yeah, it would be difficult to attribute source potentially given wind.
Right. It is. I would add too that we're looking at the I-95 and 291 corridors too. This isn't just industry focus. This is the whole area, and those transportation corridors are pretty significant as well.
Yeah.
Okay, are there any other questions for either Francine or Anne? We have some comments and questions in the chat. Do PM monitors register VOCs and other airborne toxins?
That's a great question. PM monitors are a little less expensive than the other monitors. So to really get a high number of them, we're using PM as like a surrogate for other harmful items. I mean, one conversation that does keep coming up with DEP is this VOC, because there are places that emit VOCs that don't emit PM. So that is something that's actually currently being talked about in the working group.
Okay, thank you.
Please feel free to email me any comments that you want to know about.
Thanks.
Okay. All right. Any other questions for either Francine or Anne? And thanks, Francine, for putting Anne's email address in the chat. Okay, I'll share my screen again so we can go back to the agenda. Next is Solid Waste Authority position open, Councilperson Schaefer. So I'll stop sharing so you can speak.
Hi, everyone, and thank you for giving me a little time today on the agenda. This is really a recruiting moment. I want to just make you all aware that our Solid Waste Authority board has a seat opening up because my colleague, Councilwoman Ruther, is stepping off as of next month. And the reason I'm coming to you with this, this is a colossally important time right now in terms of how we treat our waste going forward. And first, you are all probably very aware of the Covanta situation and the decision-making in terms of whether we incinerate our waste. That is the issue that everyone's talking about, but it's actually not the most important issue. The most important issue is that we are doing a solid waste plan right now that is based on zero waste approach. And that would entail a great transformation and a very complex transition. And so it's just really important that we get somebody on that board who gets it, who understands some of these. I mean, it doesn't have to be an expert in solid waste management, but somebody who's really attuned to these issues and can help work through the complexities of making this transition. The other thing is that the organization itself is going through a very monumental management change. And so this person also has to be pretty astute in terms of just general best practices in board management and management of an important company. So we're looking for, and this person is hard to find. And I know this group is incredibly smart and incredibly well connected in this world. And so I wanted to put it out to you that if you know anybody who would be willing to serve on this board and who understands what we're trying to do here in this county, that please, please, please have them send in their resume. Now, I don't want to put Jim McLaughlin on the spot, but he is here. He is also on the board. And
I'm the chair.
And if anybody has any questions about the specifics about, how many times they meet or anything like that, I'm sure Jim would be happy to answer. We are really changing the entire culture of that board, of that organization, and of our approach to solid waste management. So this is not just sitting on a board. I think this is a paid board too. Like, it's not just picking up your check, and this is a real task, and we need somebody in there that believes in it. So, Jim, do you have anything to add to that?
I'm on the record a lot on this, on the operations of the authority. I firmly believe, and I've stated this publicly in front of County Council, that I would like to see us transition to be the zero waste authority for the county. Now, that's not going to happen overnight. There are a number of structural things that we're going to be working through over the coming years as we consider doing so. And it's going to take someone who understands the complexities of working within a county government, working within Delaware County, because we have our uniquenesses all over the place. We want to be a model authority, and I think we have done good work already to hire a new interim CEO who has a substantial amount of solid waste authority experience, who will be guiding us through that. And it's a wonderful time, frankly. It's a challenging time, but there's a tremendous amount of opportunity to do really good stuff for our county and help our municipalities in a lot of ways to address their waste management in so many areas. My buzz phrase here is, I want to see an affordable, equitable, responsible, and sustainable solid waste strategy going forward. And I'm confident in everything that I see from this study that the county is doing, that we're going to have the structure and strategy behind that in the next year or so. And I look forward to building out the strength of the authority to be able to address all of the issues and opportunities that are identified by the new solid waste management plan. So
yeah,
hopefully that's enough.
You would get to work with this very smart gentleman. So
yeah,
it would be a great. Seriously, this is such an important seat to fill right now, and we want to make sure the word gets out to people who would be willing to participate in this. So thank you. Think hard. If you're not interested, think hard of somebody that might be, and pass the word along.
Can you share, Jim, the time commitment that you would estimate, like in terms of meeting times, things like that?
We meet twice a month formally in a workshop and a legislative session, which take roughly 2 hours or so. I would estimate that there's probably another. Well, I'm trying to work this down, because one of the things that everyone needs to understand is we have not really had an executive director through most of the last year. And there's been a lot of effort by the board to fill in for that gap. I am thoroughly committed to reducing the workload on the board in terms of addressing key issues, and we want to support our new CEO in doing that. So what you may have heard from other previous members is that there was a lot going on. Offhand, 2 to 4 hours a week at most. I don't think it's going to be more than that. It really shouldn't be. And if we are doing our jobs well and setting priorities for our CEO properly on key issues, being timely, there really shouldn't be that much going on here. The big thing, though, is we are essentially starting from scratch on bylaws, on agreements with the county, on our articles of incorporation. This is about as close to a restart as you could imagine. But the beauty of that is that we get to think hard about best practices and implementing a municipal authority for the county in a model way where we can benefit from so much knowledge that's already available to us from many other municipalities, many other authorities across Pennsylvania, across the nation. The technology base has changed radically since 1954 when this organization was initially established. There is an opportunity for technology. There's an opportunity for data, for public communications like crazy. There's an opportunity for collaboration and networking across the COG, the Council of Governments, across to engage and work with our 49 municipalities. There's just a tremendous amount of good opportunity to make this authority be what our county really needs it to be, and to always be the most affordable approach for all of our municipalities, regardless of what you feel about regarding incineration or otherwise. We still want to be the best authority possible for this county, and we've got a great team working on laying out a plan. We want people to be aware of it. We want them to be engaged in community conversations that go with that. So does that help, Jacqueline?
It does, and I totally agree with both of you. It is absolutely critical position and a really, I think, cool opportunity and time for people to join in and help out.
Great. So yeah, please, anybody can reach out to me. I'm easy to find. If you can't find me, there's probably somebody in your network who can. I don't make it a secret how to find me. So feel free to, if you have any questions at all, don't hesitate to get a hold of me. And I do want to quickly mention, I'm deeply grateful for Christine's service to the authority. She's done a marvelous work in helping to shepherd us through the past year. It's been a tumultuous year, no doubt. However, she's positioned us well to move forward, and I want to thank her for her service.
And she's not leaving because it's a horrible position. She's leaving because it's much better just to have the politics out of it and not have elected people on there.
And I do understand that she's going to continue to be the liaison from the county council to the authority. I don't think that's planning to change. And so we'll continue to benefit from her relationship with the council and other professional background that she brings to the table. So.
Yes. I just want to add the due date is March 10th, or the deadline, actually, the deadline for that application. And I put a link to the application in the chat.
Thank you, Francine.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone have any other questions? Okay. Thank you very much, Councilperson Schaefer and Jim McLaughlin. Thank you so much. Let's take a look at the agenda and see what's next. I'm sorry. Okay, next is the Rose Tree Concert Series Waste Diversion Initiative with PRC. Emily.
So this is Mark. I'm not
Emily
sure.
Here?
This is not Emily Riley. I don't want Emily to get like, whoa.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
This is a different Emily.
Yes.
Mark, do you know if she's here? Mark Manfrey?
I don't believe so. I invited her to speak at our next park board. I didn't invite her to this.
All right. I think we have to take that off the agenda. I'm sorry, Carol.
Okay. Yeah, no problem.
Yeah.
But it is a program that we're working on within the Parks and Recreation Department, along with Francine's support, and I definitely think it'd be worthwhile to hear her present at the next sustainability meeting, Francine.
Agreed. It's such a great program that we're doing zero waste at an event like that the Rose Tree Concert Series, multiple events that are attracting hundreds of people, if not thousands, I'm not sure. And having it as zero waste is a big deal. That means you have people there directing folks to make sure they're putting their recyclables in the right bins and compostable. And so I'm looking forward to her coming to share that information.
Just to give everyone a little preview, we're going to be meeting with Emily in the next 2 weeks with Beth Ann Chapman, our marketing and communication manager, along with our maintenance staff to get the logistics together and, strategically place the bins and have a routine pickup during the concert series. And hopefully we'll be able to implement this program throughout the park system.
Wow.
It's exciting.
That's just another amenity that we're working with PRC with.
Yeah. So we look forward to that. Actually, I guess we were up to public comment. If anyone in the public has a comment, or if we have anything that went to our email address.
I'm looking at it now, and there are some older emails that are kind of questions. There was a question about, are the members of the Sustainability Commission member paid? That was from Mary Beth Baldini, and the answer was no. I just sent her response to that. And also we have a gentleman here, Jake Lamb, that sent an email a while back, and I just got back to him. And so asking to connect, I'd like to connect next week if that's possible to discuss ways to get involved. I think that's what the question is. Jake, are you there? Did you have a specific question?
Sounds good. Yeah, just curious about how I could get involved.
Cool. All right, let's connect next week. I gave you my direct email address.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome. I think that's it.
Let's see, Charlie Himmler has his hand raised. Would you like to ask a question?
Hello?
You're on mute. There you go.
Hello, cool. Yeah, I have a public comment, and I think I might be able to help you out here, Jake. Yeah, my name is Charlie Hummler. I was a part of the Strathaven class of 2016, and I am at this meeting representing Fifth Square, the Grassroots Urbanist Political Action Committee in Philadelphia. We advocate for better transit, abundant housing, and vibrant public space. Well, a lot of the conversation initiatives happening here are great. I'm frankly quite disappointed in the lack of discussion surrounding increasing housing density and shifting trips away from automobiles to transit and cycling. These are some of the most important things we can do in terms of sustainability. Delco has some incredible transit-accessible walkable towns, especially Media. But I know all too well all the single-family housing in the county, from growing up in Wallingford and being an Amazon delivery driver last winter. Certainly, SEPTA has a lot of problems, but there are a lot of great initiatives underway. Most importantly for us here in Delco, increasing frequency on regional rail. I'll link two things in chat. One, a link to Fifth Square if you're interested to get more involved there. There's a Slack group for members, and it's an incredible place to discuss these urbanist topics further and meet other people interested. And second is a YouTube video by the channel Climate Town that discuss a lot of these zoning concepts super well and actions that need to happen in order to address the climate and housing crisis. Thank you.
Thank you, Charlie. That was very thoughtful, and we agree. As we develop our sustainability plan, one of the focus areas is transportation. Just talking about that piece, we will be focusing on active transport and more ways to not use vehicles. In fact, we do have some baseline data this evening that Emily Riley is going to share with us regarding transportation. With regards to housing density, I think that we have our interim acting planning director who is here, Tom Schaefer. And so, Tom, did you want to say anything about that at all? Let's see if you're still here, Tom. All right, he may be doing something else. I apologize.
I'm sorry, I was off the call for a minute. I didn't catch all of that. I'm sorry.
I'm just asking about any thoughts on housing density and any plans for Delaware County being a leader in trying to address all of the single housing developments that are out there. Charlie was an Amazon driver, and I think he can totally get the fact that there are tons of houses there's not a lot of multifamily units. Just thoughts on any type of planning, anything you can think of throughout the county?
Yes, I can talk to Charlie offline too about our housing plan, which was adopted by County Council in 2020. And I could, set up a meeting or a chat with him about what our recommendations were in that plan.
Yeah, that'd be great. I did look through that plan and notice that transit, that word was not discussed. Was not mentioned once actually, which was concerning to me. But yeah, I'm here and I want to be a part of this conversation. And hearing that, Francine, definitely makes me feel better about this organization's attitudes towards all this.
Awesome. Thank you, Charlie, for being here. Tom, do you want to put your email in the chat box?
Sure.
And Erica Berman, you have a question or a comment.
Hi. Yeah, thank you. And I put my comment that I meant to email into the chat, so really cog it up. But I'm so grateful that Francie mentioned the plastic bag ban info session that we hosted on Tuesday of this week. And I guess, my question is, I'm encouraged to hear that the county is considering, or there's interest in a countywide ban. So, some of the questions I'm getting from individual municipalities is, should we continue with the bans, in our local municipalities, or should we focus on the county? And media is going forward with the ordinance that we're presenting to council, hopefully in March. But yeah, I just wanted to know where this group stood, and to have a better understanding of the timeline, so I can help communicate that, or just how we can support each other in this. So thank you.
Thank you, Erica. So I did bring this up to our executive director, Howard Lazarus, this week after the webinar, because it was so really inspiring and thoughtful. And so we're looking into the legalities of actually having the authority as a county to be able to do that, because I think we all want to do this in some way, shape, or form. And we could get some council members' support of something once we figure out if we can do it as a county. And so I would say for the municipalities that are working on it right now, they should continue to pursue, just so they can get ahead of the game. But we'll have more information. I'll have more information at the next meeting, at this next meeting. Thank you.
All right, thank you for that.
Oh, wait, I had a quick question. I mean, maybe you can't answer it now, but sorry, it took me so long to navigate back to unmute stuff. Something I brought up before, and maybe with others here, if they could answer it or consider it, about using any of the infrastructure dollars as a way to create incentive, even if we couldn't ban it in Delaware County, as a way to push large companies, suppliers, it's mostly like grocery stores, to stop providing plastic bags. And they could be phased out. As just a suggestion. I don't know if it's possible, but that could be a way to work around having a requirement to then at least getting people to do this.
Kathy's on the line. She's our guru right now on the IIJA stuff, the federal funding that's available. I don't know if you want to add anything to that, Kathy, in regards to banning plastic bags or trying to find some way to control them using infrastructure funding somehow. I'm not sure if I didn't see anything like that, Jacqueline, to be quite honest with you. And there's so much there, and I could have missed it. But we'll look into that. Kathy, you're on mute, I think. I can't hear you.
No, I'm just shaking my head. No, yeah, okay. No, I have a quote unquote cheat sheet that is 450 pages long. So it's half the size of the original bill. And I have not seen anything about that sort of plastic bag banning, addressing that issue in any of it. And I've looked through it actually multiple times. So, that would be amazing. I think a lot of things ended up falling short because Build Back Better didn't go through. So we kind of only got half of what we were hoping to get.
Jacqueline, have you heard of other municipalities or counties or anyone using their ARPA money or CARES money or anything like for that? I have not heard anything, but
I have not dug into it. But of course, our surrounding states like New Jersey and Delaware already have bag bans. So it was statewide legislation passed in New Jersey last year, and so they're already phasing that in. Delaware, I thought it was the entire state, unless it's just certain cities. The same with other cities throughout the country. So, it could be that some already that were forward thinking have already done that. So would be considering it now. I was just curious if there's, some flexibility for innovation in that regard, or, if there's a way to do it even without using that money in terms of any county dollars to put towards some kind of incentive program. And I don't know. So just thought I would throw it out there because I know it's a difficult issue, especially at a county level, to do something like this. And if we can't ban it, if we can incentivize it, maybe that could be what pushes everybody forward. I'll look into it though, Lee.
Thank you. Melissa, do you have a comment or a question?
Yeah, two questions. One question, Francine, you mentioned, you gave us a little abstract for the GBU conference, but I was curious about the topic on which you're presenting for the Green Philly Conference. And the second question I had is the EPA grant that was referenced and that you were talking about, that's not the same grant as the Drivers and Environmental Impacts on Energy Transitions grant, right? There's a second EPA grant that is focused on underserved communities. Francine, that's an email I sent you earlier today.
Yes.
Those are two separate EPA grants, right?
Well, let me start for the first one. For the Philly Green Symposium, I'm not presenting, I'm just attending.
All right.
I'm happy to say I can relax.
Next year.
In regards to the other grant opportunity you sent us today, Ann Stoffer has reviewed that. And that's not the one we're applying for right now, but we would love to learn more about that. Ann, do you want to say anything?
No, that's exactly right. They're two different grant programs. And the one, I wouldn't say that the air monitoring one is not focused on underserved communities, because environmental justice areas is part of the grant solicitation and an important component of who's going to be awarded.
Got it. I'll put the link for the grant in the chat.
I was going to put that up as a slide, Melissa, today as like a grant opportunity, but I just got it today and I didn't have a chance to really understand it, but it looks really, really awesome.
Yeah. Well, I'll put it in, folks can take a look.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Any other public comment before we go back onto the agenda? Okay. Hearing none, I'll share my screen.
If I could real quick, this is Jim McLaughlin. And I know that Ms. Locke posted the link to the open position on the Solid Waste Authority. I don't think that link is fully developed yet. I think there will be more information coming. It shows that there's an opening, but there's no, when you go further, there's no place to submit an application. So I think that'll probably be updated soon.
Yes, thank you very much, Jim. I'll make sure that we get that to our folks. It's not there. Thank you.
Okay.
But that is where you would go if it was when it does get up.
Yeah.
Okay. The next update is the Sustainability Conference update. Francie?
Yes, this is very, very, very exciting. It's something to look forward to. We are working with the Subaru Park. Yes. Oh, I thought somebody said something. Subaru Park, we're hoping to have the 2022 Delaware County Sustainability Conference. We're calling it that now. We're working with the Foundation for Delaware County, with DVRPC, DEP, Pennsylvania Resource Council, and the Pennsylvania Horticultural Society to have this event on April 21st. It's a Thursday. It's the day before Earth Day. We're looking at about 100 participants. We have our business plan together, and it is going to include having a totally vegan menu and zero waste. We're working with SEPTA to try to get to have a bus shuttle to get us there until there's some permanent measure for that. It's a shame that there's not a lot of accessibility to this facility through public transportation, but we will make sure there is for that day. Because it's similar to when there is a Philadelphia Union game or another event there, they typically have a shuttle service there. And so there will be more details coming. Pippa Barrett, who was our sustainability intern from Temple, she's working on this. We are working on a plenary speaker or a keynote speaker, and the breakout sessions. We're trying to reach to every walk of life for this event, focusing on our 6 focus areas. So I will have more at our next meeting, and before our next meeting, you should start seeing social media and a press release with an Eventbrite invitation and registration format for people to register. It will be free, but there will be food, once again, that usually draws people to events. So you should start seeing some social media and press release and other information coming out with the registration process. It will be 10 weeks to the event next week. So we have to really get on this. I just wanted to confirm the venue before I put anything out there. So that's it.
Wow, that's so
Great.
exciting.
Yes,
it is. It's really cool. I'm sorry to ask so many questions today.
Oh,
is there a way, will there be ability to live stream so people can watch that can't be there?
I believe there probably will be. I need to figure out those details. Yeah. I don't see why not. I think the breakout sessions could be the most difficult, but it's still possible. So I'll look into that with our IT folks. Thank you for asking that.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, it would be.
I gotta believe there's lots of facilities up there, over there to make that possible.
Yes, I agree.
Wow, like it's so exciting that we're going to obviously be demonstrating like we're walking our walk and talking our talk. Like it's so exciting, so exciting.
And listening to people and learning, and it's the event is really to have community engagement, to talk about educate people about what we're talking about, what climate change is, how we're impacting it, how we can be more resilient, and then listening and learning from the folks that are there as well. I'm so excited. I'm glad that everybody's on board with wanting to do this.
And before I forget, I wanted to do this earlier, but I wanted to congratulate you again on your 1-year anniversary and just thank you for all you do. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. That's so kind. I appreciate it. Thank you.
So I'll go back to sharing my screen now. So next is data on greenhouse gas inventory for county operations. Emily Riley.
Hi, everybody. I'm going to share my screen real quick with the presentation. Okay, so I am the sustainability intern with Francine Locke. I'm a senior at Westchester University right now. And I was given this responsibility to share this presentation with you. It was created by Dr. Sharon Jay before she left, so I was kind of given the responsibility to share it on her behalf. So this presentation is about the sustainability plan development steps, and right now we are at the baselining stage. So basically through this presentation, you're going to see some baseline benchmarking data that Dr. Sharon Jay did find. So we will start with the greenhouse gas inventory at the operational level. So first we have it by sector. So to start, everything here is by the CO2 equivalents. So in case anyone is unaware, each greenhouse gas has a different global warming potential and it persists for a different amount of time in the atmosphere. So CO2 equivalent is kind of a unit of measurement that is used to kind of standardize all the effects of the various greenhouse gases. So if we look here at 2018, you could see we're focusing on the buildings and facilities, the vehicle fleet, and the solid waste generation. The buildings and the facilities generated the most CO2 equivalents for all the years, actually. You can look at all the data there, the totals. So the total for 2018 is the highest of all 3 years at 19,228 CO2 equivalents. And then it actually dropped down to 17,689 CO2 equivalents in 2019. And then in 2020, it jumped back up a little bit to 18,804. And then this next slide is very similar, just showing the average greenhouse gas emissions by sector for all 3 years. So we could see that the buildings and the facilities do produce the most of 89% of the greenhouse gas. And then is the solid waste generation at 8% and the vehicle fleet at 3%. Now we have some countywide data. So to start, we have information about the solar PV installations. So between 2009 and 2020, the county has installed 13 megawatts. And then those 13 megawatts go into the 1,517 solar panels that have been installed total over the years as well. This next chart is about the electric vehicle charging stations. This one's pretty simple. Since 2012 to 2021, the county has gained 37 electric vehicle charging stations. And then also going forward, looking for our subcommittees, a possible target then would be to be able to come up with a specific number they would like at a certain amount of time. This next diagram is about the primary trail network. So when building these primary trail networks, there's 5 stages that they go through: potential, proposed, design, construction, and existing. And we have data from 2017 and 2020, and you could see how many miles of trail are in each of those categories and where they go in their steps. One interesting thing to note that Dr. Jay wanted me to notice was between 2017 and 2020, we only added 2 miles of trails into existence over those 3 years. So we would definitely want to target an increase in the percentage of trails that are actually existing and kind of hope that they can make it through these status stages in a more efficient, quicker manner, I think. Our next diagram is about commuting to work. So this is the Delaware County residents and their work method or their commuting to work methods. The overwhelming majority of people drove alone to work, about 73%. The next highest category is only 7%. That's carpooling. And then the rest of these categories are kind of small percentages themselves. So another possible target for the future would be able to decrease the amount of percentage of people that are driving alone to work. This chart is about protected open space in Delaware County. So there's definitely a lot of different categories of protected open space. The one that's taking up the most space is state parks, and then also the conservation organization protected lands and the municipal passive parklands. Now we also have unprotected open space. Again, there's many categories of unprotected open space. The two biggest ones are the institutional property with open space and the homeowners association open space. It's also important to note that there are school districts with unprotected open space, the trail, greenway, streams with unprotected open space, cemeteries with unprotected open space. So there's definitely a lot in there. And then coming together with those two, we could see that in Delaware County, the majority of our open space is unprotected, about twice as much as there is protected. So a possible target for the future would definitely be to increasing the percentage of protected space. So this next chart is about the LEED certified buildings. LEED certified buildings are what stands for Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design. LEED certified buildings, they save money, they improve efficiency, they lower carbon emissions, and they create healthier places for people. And to get certified, you have to meet a bunch of building prerequisites that address things like carbon, energy, water, waste, transportation, materials, health, and indoor environmental quality. So you could see here in this chart that over countywide, cumulatively, there have been 50 buildings that have been able to be LEED certified in the county. And they kind of came up with almost 4 million square feet. But then operationally, we've had no buildings that have this LEED certification, therefore no square footage as well. So we would definitely want to be able to get some buildings that could be LEED certified, both in the operation and then more countywide as well. And then very similar data, Energy Star certified buildings. So to be certified for Energy Star, you have to meet very strict energy performance standards set by the EPA. So countywide, there have been 56 buildings that have pursued Energy Star certification, and then they have totaled almost 7 million square feet. And then again, operationally, we've had no buildings that have pursued Energy Star certification, therefore no square feet as well. So again, targets would be to get those going. And now we have some community program participations. So the CAA DC organization has a lot of this information here. So they're the Community Action Agency of Delaware County. They told us that there were 627 households participating in the Weatherization Assistance Program, 193 households in the Utility and Fuel Assistance Program, 47 households in the Safe and Healthy Homes Program, 42 households in the Lead-Based Paint Reduction Program, and then Aqua told us that there are 121 households in their Helping Hand program. Another thing to note is that 19 municipalities totaling 11,851 streetlights were able to be upgraded to LED through the Regional Streetlight Procurement Program. These next two slides are about the Delaware County Climate Vulnerability Rankings. So we were kind of able to see what climate vulnerabilities we were most vulnerable for and score them. So first there's drought. Our score was 8, so that counts as very low. Our expected annual loss is $285,000. Inland flooding, our score was 13.5, which is relatively moderate. Our expected annual loss by this risk could be $3 million. The sea level rise and the coastal storms, our score is 18.5, which is also counted as relatively moderate. And our expected annual loss by this risk could be $3 million. Then there's the wildfire. Our score is only 2.2, so category is very low. Our expected annual loss is only 4,000. Erosions and landslides, our score is 11, also relatively low. Our expected annual loss is 62,000. And then increasing temperatures and extreme heat, this was our highest one. Our score was 26.3, which is considered relatively high. And our expected annual loss could be about $4 million. Now I'm going to look at some operational data. So we have our county-owned buildings and their energy usage. So for our 7 buildings that we're looking at here, the Fair Acres campus does produce the most amount of energy usage, which was 57%. The GW Hill Correctional Facility is about 21%, and the courthouse campus is about 18%. And now you can compare those with the square feet of the building, so you kind of make some inferences. So the Fair Acres campus, it's only 30% of all square footage of our facilities, but it uses over half of all energy. So you could see how it's a big generator of energy just from the one facility. And then like the GW Hill Correctional Facility, it's bigger than Fair Acres, but it only accounts for less than half of Fair Acres energy use. So you can make some decisions based off that. And then also she had a little note that we have 305 kilowatts of solar installed, and that is on top of the government center. Now we have some data about the site energy use intensity. So energy use intensity is an indicator of energy efficiency of a building's design and its operation, and the EUI is expressed as energy per square foot per year. So we have all this baseline data from 2019 for each building, and then also their 2020 numbers as well. And so you can see the changes in EUI over the year for all the buildings. So Fair Acres went up by 3.7 points. The GW Hill went up by 21.3. Courthouse campus went up by 8.6. And then emergency services, they went down by 2.5. Voting machine warehouse went down by 8.1. Emergency services and juvenile detention went down by 9.4, and community services went down by 2.3. And another interesting thing to note from this slide is that all these numbers were actually compared to the national median by their certain property types. So they had a very accurate comparison over the country. So Fair Acres is actually, their site energy use intensity is 208% higher than their similar building types across the country. And then GW Hill is 1% higher, and Courthouse campus is 123% higher. So you don't exactly want them to be higher. You kind of want them to be, you want it to be lower than the national median. So our smaller buildings, the smaller facilities are lower, but our biggest ones are producing much higher than the national median for their property types. So a target would be in the future to be reducing our site EUIs for the individual buildings and as a whole. I have an information about our county-owned fleet. So this one's pretty simple as well. So by type, I think we have about 300 vehicles is what Francine told me. And then of those vehicles, 74% of them are passenger vehicles, 17% are light trucks, and 9% are considered heavy trucks. And then of those, 94% are run by gas and 6% are electric. So again, a possible target for the future would be to electrify the percentage of passenger vehicles and light and heavy trucks when more of them become available on the market. And then my last couple of slides here are about tree plantings. So we have our Tree Vitalized Watershed Grant Program plantings. You can kind of see how over the years, it seems like they've gone down a little bit. And Sharon was explaining it to me by when our staff applies for this grant funding, sometimes we get more, sometimes we get less. And then based off that, we're able to plant more or less. So we're still adding more trees. It just seems to be at a little bit lower of a rate. So that's why on this slide, we're still going in an upward trend. Definitely, there's still continuing to be more trees, more plantings from this program, but not as quickly as a rate as there has been. So again, a possible target would be to, reach a number of specified trees or of these plantings that we would like by a certain time. And then more for this, the buffer areas. So these tree plantings help improve the buffer areas that help with flooding of the streams. They help soak up the water when big storms happen. So over these years, we've had about 4 million buffer areas have been improved by these plantings. So that's actually all. So if anyone has any questions, I could do my best to answer them. So thank you.
Emily, that was fantastic. Thank you so much. We do have to give credit to Dr. Sharon Jay, who spent the last few weeks of her time with the county really putting work into this, a lot of effort into it. And so, Emily, you did it justice and you really shared it and presented it very well. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Does anyone have any questions for either Emily or Francine on this? And there was a question in the chat. Oh, yeah. I'm sorry, you were going to say, go ahead.
Yeah, it was, why is Fair Acres so bad, basically? And, you know, Fair Acres is a campus of about 20 or so buildings, and many of them have antiquated, deteriorated HVAC or mechanical systems. But we do have detailed information from KCBA, which was the consultant that did the facility condition and needs assessment and energy audit. So we know specifically what the problems are in those buildings and what the recommended energy conservation measures are to reduce that. So we do have data that will feed into our capital improvement program moving forward so we can improve our energy efficiencies there.
Okay. Does anyone have any other questions for Emily or Francine?
Just to follow up for Francine on that note, hopefully the county is considering heat pumps and not just replacing with efficient fossil fuel for Fair Acres.
We haven't gotten that deep into the details right now, but we will. We will. Okay. So as we move forward with the facilities master plan, we're going to just select which buildings should be addressed first, and then the design process will move forward that way as to how we're going to address these things. But I'll be sure to share that with the Sustainability Commission as we move forward.
Okay, any other questions? All right, thank you. I will share my screen again. So next is sustainability focus area subcommittees recommendations. Francine.
I don't have a lot to report out other than thank you all who submitted your nominations. We do have a very good grouping of potential candidates for the subcommittees. Their tasks are, there are 6 focus areas, once again, the focus areas of our sustainability plan, and they will each be analyzing the data that was shared today by Emily as their baseline data to benchmark from and develop targets and actions. So I still have to vet through all of those different candidates, and so it really is still open if you'd like to add anybody else there, because I haven't had a chance to really look through it. That's all I have.
All right, thank you. Next is the IJA update. Kathy Spar.
Okay, I put together a presentation for you guys, so I am going to share my screen. Let's see where the heck it is on here. Okay. So I have been working very diligently on the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, also known as IIJA, which is a mouthful, or also known as the bill, which is bipartisan infrastructure law. So, but around here, we've generally been calling it IIJA. So I have envisioned our role here at the county is to identify opportunities, learn and educate myself and others about these opportunities, share this information and inform our municipalities and stakeholders about these opportunities, and then ensure that we're supporting them and assisting them in any way we can. Obviously, if there are opportunities for us as a county to pursue things, then we will do that. But a lot of these things are going to come down to the municipalities and partnerships among the municipalities with the support of the county. So some of the challenges that we've come across are that the grant awards are very, very large. requiring minimum awards going out at $5 million, sometimes $15 million, and in some cases, $100 million. A lot of our projects aren't really $5 million ready. So we have a project readiness issue. Some of that is because of the way we receive funding. We don't plan in $5 million increments. We plan in $2 and $3 million increments. And a lot of our trails and other projects have been divided up into different stages, some of which are construction ready, but not at the $5 million level, or they are in the planning feasibility study, or they need final design. And so we're kind of staggered with a lot of our projects. The other issue is that there seems to be a short turnaround time. So the RAISE grant, which has a $5 million minimum, those applications are due April 14th. I sat through the RAISE grants webinar on how to apply, and it's not really all that easy. And so that's also proving to be another challenge. We really need some assistance through grant writers, people who know how to do benefit cost analysis, which is required as part of these grant submissions. And then finally, the other issue is that there's still a lot of the IIJA that we don't know about. There's just a lack of information. They're still in the process of formalizing parts of it, kind of writing rules about other parts of it. And so we're still waiting on information. So as it comes out, we're vigorously going through it. And then the turnaround time ends up being very short. So it's a big bill with a lot of information that isn't necessarily the easiest to navigate. But so far, this is kind of where we're at with opportunities that we're becoming familiar with. For the first quarter, so right now you have your RAISE grant, which is previously known as the Tiger grant or the Build grant. Applications are due April 14th. Again, 5 million minimum awards. And that's really about us forming partnerships with other stakeholders and municipalities to see how we can help them. For example, today I met with Lisa Gaffney from the Riverfront Alliance to talk about a possible project they might have and how we can help them get that completed. DVRPC sat in that meeting with us, and we're hoping that they will have the project that they're hoping to do will be $5 million. We might end up being shy of that $5 million requirement. The other one that's coming up that I think is really exciting, the application hasn't come out yet. So again, we're still kind of in this, we don't know what they're gonna really entirely be looking for, but is the Emergency Watershed Protection Program. So for areas in our communities that are being impacted by flooding, this is an opportunity for them to design and construct for repairs in those areas. So the idea would be for the county to share that information with our municipalities and the communities that are struggling with those issues. Coming up this spring, we have a bunch of really awesome programs, but again, the information that we have on these is rather limited. Safe Streets and Roads for All is an opportunity for us here at the county potentially to look at doing some Vision Zero efforts, such as doing a Vision Zero plan. Because if we can make our streets safer to walk on, then people might actually choose to walk to a bus to then be able to, not drive their cars everywhere. So applications are set to open in May 2022, but again, we still don't really know what that's going to look like. Also coming up is the Clean School Bus Program, which is an opportunity for our school districts to compete to replace existing school buses with zero emission school buses. So this is like a super amazing opportunity to advance our school districts to a more sustainable direction. And, think about all the pollution that is just being emitted from a school bus idling while they're picking up and dropping off children. So this is a really exciting opportunity. And I see the county's role as informing the school districts of this opportunity and finding out how we can help them. And finally, Brownfields remediation program is going to be opening up for additional competitive funding this spring. It does include a jobs training program in it, and it helps communities assess and clean up brownfields. Of course, Ann Stauffer just completed the Darby Brownfields study, so hopefully there'll be some opportunities for Darby Borough and for us to help them pursue some cleanup activities in their community. Coming up this fall, we have the electrical vehicle charging grants, which there are like a lot of different variations on it. There are about two or three different grant options with very different ways to go about it, some of which are community oriented and others of which are designated alternative fuel corridors. And so I know Francine and I are all about this opportunity and pursuing this for the county, and also working with our municipalities to make sure that we're getting charging stations placed everywhere. Then we also have the grants for energy efficiency and renewable energy investments for public school facilities. Again, this is a really amazing opportunity for our school facilities to address HVAC, ventilation, and lighting in their buildings. And I really look forward to informing them of this when more information comes out, and working with our school districts, particularly school districts in our disadvantaged communities, to apply and be able to do some upgrades to their buildings. And then finally, we also have energy efficiency and conservation block grants. The county has actually worked through this program before. Rebecca Ross, who is in our community regional section, she has done this before. And so I'm looking forward to us looking at opportunities for Fair Acres to do some upgrades for energy efficiency retrofits over there. And then finally, some additional opportunities that we just don't really know when they're going to come out, but a Healthy Streets program, which I think is a really cool program. And I look forward to working with the GIS department on opportunities for this to find areas that need cool pavement, porous pavements, or more tree cover, and look and see where is it hot? Where do we have some heat islands that we need to address, and work with our communities and support and partner with them to apply for those. And then we also have an active transportation planning grant that's coming. This is to construct safe and connected active transportation facilities. So active transportation is non-motorized transport. So walking, biking, wheeling, skateboarding, even kayaking and canoeing are considered to be active transportation. So that's really going to be all about partnerships, because they are looking to improve our circuit trails and spine networks. So that's a $15 million minimum award grant. So those are big projects. And so that one's going to be all about collaboration and partnerships. Both of those are based on the omnibus, which is finalizing the appropriations and the budget. And so they haven't come out yet because we're still in this continuing resolution business. And so we're kind of waiting on that and keeping our fingers crossed that, maybe Washington, D.C. can get a budget in place. So some projects that we've come up with for us to partner with or pursue, we'll be looking about how we can do a feasibility study for the Chester Creek Trail portion in Chester Township, because we have really nothing for that going on. Capping I-95 in Chester between Edgemont and Madison Avenue. Potentially moving the Highland Avenue train station in Chester and the options for that. The East Coast Greenway, and really moving forward with that. And, the IIJ loves to see collaborations with municipalities and counties. So this could be an opportunity for us to finally get the East Coast Greenway done, which would be really amazing. Darby Creek Trail Phase 2 is another option. Potentially we can get it to be $5 million. So we'll see what we can do. The RAISE grant does include right-of-way acquisition. So there are some options in there. And so we're going to be looking into that. And then also Chester waterfront port investments are another opportunity. There are a lot of port grants in there for upgrading ports, ferries, and all sorts of really fabulous stuff that can really help build some economic development in Chester City. And so that's it. That's all I have for you guys. Do you have any questions?
That was really helpful, Kathy. You brought some order to chaos because those are really difficult grant opportunities to navigate through. So thank you so much. There are a couple things here. Carol, I'll try this out. So wait a second. I know there was one here. Maybe you can help me, Carol.
Sure. There are lots of them.
Yeah. Sorry.
Let's see.
Oh, I know Mike Ewell had a question. He's wondering what the $5 million Riverfront Alliance project involves. What does that involve? Is there any info for the public basically right now for that?
They have, so I don't want to like reveal too much because Lisa Gaffney still has to do some investigating into it to whether we can reach the $5 million. But it has to do with East Coast Greenway stuff and connections to the waterfront. And the construction of facilities to facilitate that.
I just want to mention Laura is here. Laura has entered the room. Okay, just want to mention that Jacqueline said that we need charging stations at the John Hines refuge parking lot on 420 just off 95. And I think that's something that we're thinking about, Kathy, right? Different places like that. And Julie Delmuto is on here, and she actually just drafted this whole GIS map about where we could put EV charging stations throughout the entire county. So that could be another presentation next time, perhaps, to share with you guys. And Tom Schaefer mentioned the Alliance, which hasn't decided whether it will apply, wants to improve Route 291 to make it safer and accommodate bicyclists and pedestrians better. Thank you, Tom, for sharing that. And Ed McGargy, who is our director of the Conservation District, wants to make sure that we're thinking about our goals as a county and wants to make sure we're thinking about that before we start putting resources towards grant opportunities without having some defined goals. And I want to just comment on that, that's what we're doing with our sustainability plan. And I think that the opportunities that Kathy has shared with us, she was really funneling in on those particular, those goals with EV charging stations and open space and trails. But I agree with you, Ed. We do need to have alignment in our goals. So thank you for sharing that.
It looks like one other comment within this section was from Charlie saying Vision Zero is very important for mode shift. And as a transportation professional myself, I just wanted to say something about Vision Zero. So it's similar to zero waste, like you want zero waste, but you also want zero pedestrian fatalities and within our transportation system. And the city of Philadelphia, like I work a lot with the city of Philadelphia, they're strong supporters of Vision Zero. And particularly Otis, which is under the city of Philadelphia. Let's see, the Office of Transportation Infrastructure and Sustainability. They're strong supporters of Vision Zero. So just in case some of you may not have heard what that is, that's what that is. And I assume we'll be talking about that a lot within our discussions of the sustainability plan in general. So does anyone else have any other comments or questions before we move on? Okay, I'll go back to sharing my screen. Zero waste update, Ruth Abbey and Jacqueline Rhodes.
We actually have Alex here from Zero Waste Associates who's going to be speaking on behalf.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I didn't let you know that.
Thank you.
Alex,
Hey, do you want me to go
thank you for
first?
waiting. Thanks for waiting so long.
No problem. This has been awesome. Let me share my screen. Can you all see that? Yeah. Yeah, so I think I just want to take a second to say it's so exciting to be doing this work at this moment. There's so much momentum going on just listening today about how you're integrating zero waste into so many different projects and living, walking the walk in terms of your internal operations and events. It's really exciting. And I think that momentum is really filtering through the county. I've read or talked to a business that just launched recently doing composting, and they cited one of the reasons that they launched in Delaware County is because of all this work and efforts going on. So I think we're already seeing some of the benefits of that, but there's obviously a long way to go. And, you know, especially I really appreciate all the effort that's gone into working with the Solid Waste Authority and really preparing to move forward with these zero waste initiatives. So I just wanted to take a quick moment to kind of give a sense of where we're at in the process. We had an early long-term disposal task that I'll come back to at the end of the presentation to give an update on that. But currently we're really kind of digging in to really get the critical components of understanding what the impacts of zero waste strategies can be, identifying the gaps in the opportunities that the county can pursue. So this involves doing a solid waste facility inventory, really going through the county, figuring out all of the opportunities there are for diversion or reuse or reduction. And then we're also going to be quantifying the total waste streams to the best level of detail that we're able to with the data. We've got stacks of data from the Solid Waste Authority, which has been really helpful. And we're also, relative to the work you're doing on quantifying carbon analysis, you know, part of our scope includes a life cycle analysis. We're working with Dr. Jeff Morris on that. It's going to be really, really great information for you to be able to integrate in terms of really quantifying waste, you know, and really valuing the upstream impacts of waste that are often missed in typical carbon calculators. So then next we'll be analyzing this information and then really digging into the public process, which I really want to talk to today more in depth. And then finally, you know, this timeline here, as it's shown, has significant timelines for the DEP to approve the final 10-year solid waste management plan through either a minor revision or through a substantial revision. So there's enough time now in the revised timeline. So just to give a little context of this municipal waste management plan that we're putting together, there's obviously DEP requirements, the major one of those being to assure that there's adequate disposal capacity. The RFP that the county put out goes a lot further than that in terms of looking at you know, county policies that can be implemented around zero waste, potential new recycling and composting infrastructure, goals for waste reduction, and greenhouse gas emissions reduction potential. So we're going to really align this work a lot with the county sustainability plan and the efforts that we've heard about today. To do that and really get buy-in from the community. And here's another recruiting opportunity. I know there's been a lot today, but this is also a really important one, is that we've just posted this week recruitment for the advisory committee that will be giving crucial feedback throughout this whole process, and I'll get into the details of what that's involved. But what we're looking for is representatives from all the different types of municipalities within Delaware County, private sector service providers, businesses, community environmental justice organizations, school and universities, reuse and recycling and composting organizations, recycling market development organizations, faith community, and then of course state, county and authority staff. What would be involved in this work is really to review the plans, make suggestions, propose changes, and most importantly, help engage the public throughout the process. We're going to be launching about 20 listening sessions to reach out to municipalities, service providers, schools and universities, environmental and faith groups, and business communities. But alongside of that, we're having 3 major public workshops. The first one will really review what are the goals and guiding principles around zero waste from the county perspective. The second is what are the zero waste initiatives that we want to launch. And then the third would be just presenting the draft plan and getting feedback on the plan elements. So we're anticipating a total commitment of about 8 meetings over a 6-month process for this advisory group. And the advisory group would meet just the week prior to, or a few weeks prior to the public workshops to help craft that and make sure that what we're delivering out reflects the values of the county, and also helping to make, to make sure that we're reaching out to the right folks and that we're working to get everyone's voice in the room that needs to be part of this effort. So it's up on the website, right on the same page that the Solid Waste Authority member is posted. So it's on the board vacancies.
This link works. This link, I put it in the chat box, Alex. This link.
Oh, great. Great. Thank you so much. So this is, just a really important, really fun and exciting opportunity, I think, to be involved, and spread the word. And this, I think we have about a month to recruit the members of this committee. So please spread the word on that. And then the final piece I just wanted to touch on, we had an early deliverable to really look at the long-term disposal options. The goal of our analysis was to see if there's feasible alternatives to the status quo. And what we did was we took all the information, all the data we were able to get based on the understanding accessible to us. And we looked at 3 different scenarios. One was the status quo, continuing to go to Covanta. The other is using the county-owned landfill, the Rolling Hills landfill, and ensuring that there's enough capacity by just limiting that landfill to just Delaware County and Berks County use. And then the third scenario we looked at was really using the existing contract with Waste Management to go to Fairless landfill or potentially another regional facility. And our preliminary analysis concluded that that each of these scenarios is actually economically feasible and technically feasible. So I think, our main recommendations out of this work, there's some key next steps that need to happen. And that includes asking Waste Management, who the Delaware County Solid Waste Authority currently has a contract with an option to deliver material to the Fairless landfill. So reaching out to them and seeing what the opportunities are to increase the portion of Delaware County waste that's currently delivered to Fairless is. Another piece is it's somewhat minor, but getting permission from Earl Township, where the county landfill is owned, to allow MSW to be delivered. Currently, they're receiving ash from Delaware County only from Covanta. So there's a slight modification that happens there. And then I think, connecting back to the pieces that a lot we've been talking about today are exploring what the opportunities are to leverage the existing infrastructure to enhance diversion. Primarily we're talking about the transfer stations. I think there's a lot of really exciting opportunities that the Solid Waste Authority and ourselves really see in terms of playing a bigger role. Jim was talking about it earlier in this meeting. But really being able to provide more cost-effective and more accessible ways for the municipalities in the county to reach diversion goals. And then just implementing new zero waste strategies to reduce the generation of waste in Delaware County. So those are our next steps on there. And I welcome any questions. Oh, one other piece is too, I just wanted to let you know that we will be co-presenting with Jim Warner, the interim executive director of the Waste Authority, at the county council meeting on Wednesday night at 6 o'clock.
Are there any questions?
Yeah, I had one. I was just about to type it in the chat box, but my fingers don't seem to be working very well. I saw the more complete presentation of this last week at the Zero Waste meeting, and all of a sudden it strikes me that there's all this investment that we need to make in the transfer stations that really has a lot of possibilities for us. And it seems to me that there ought to be money in the Infrastructure Act for just that kind of thing. It sounds like it's perfect. It ought to fit there somewhere. And $5 million, no problem.
Oh yeah, a recycling facility can easily be $40 million.
Yeah.
I think you're absolutely right, David, that there's a tremendous opportunity for infrastructure bill money. And we've been tracking that with recycling and talking to Francine about that a little bit. And there's also, industry funding. There's a lot of initiatives where the industry is really looking to try to increase access to recycling, increase accountability in recycling, that it's actually has the impact that we expect it to have when a material hits the bin. So I think there's a lot of potential to leverage additional funds from the federal government as well as industry groups that can really make this a viable and exciting opportunity.
If it's out there, we must find it, David. I agree with you. And Kathy, and we're working with Holland and Knight, which is the lobbyist firm who's guiding us through all of this. I'm looking for it too, every day, because I agree with you. There must be some infrastructure, federal funding for this. Kathy, did you see anything? Super excited. Okay. Yeah. We're looking for it, David. Thank you for mentioning it. And once we find it, we're going to share it with this group.
Is there anything or any other questions, or Jacqueline, I'm not sure if you wanted to add anything.
No, that was a good summary. I know the committee is looking to complete that checklist, and so we'll have more information to provide later on as Alex and team get to summarize it.
Mike has his hand up. I see a hand.
Oh, yes, please, Mike.
Thanks, Alex, and thanks, Francine. Alex, when will that first report that was presented to the Zero Waste Committee officially be out? I understand there's still Solid Waste Authorities still poking at it with questions or something.
Yeah, it's a good question. The Solid Waste Authority has hired a consultant to try to get solid numbers. They are, I think as there's this new structure is coming into place, there's a lot of unanswered questions. So, there's details on those numbers that I guess it's really important for the Solid Waste Authority to be part of this transition plan in terms of how this is going to transition to these viable alternatives. I don't think there's any question on either side that these alternatives exist and that there's opportunity and potential. So I guess I don't know, Francine, if you have a better solid answer on the timing piece of that.
Well, I can tell Mike that since you're on our Zero Waste Subcommittee, you'll be one of the first people to know when it's done. And I think that Jim Warner, who is the interim I guess he's the interim CEO, acting CEO. Hopefully he stays for a while because he's really very good. He seems to be. He's more concerned with accuracy, and he's really diving deep into those numbers because he's seeing some issues with the numbers. So we want it to be accurate, and we're giving him that time. But Mike, you'll be the first to know because you're in those conversations with us every 2 weeks. So thank you for asking. I agree. I mean, there's a sense of urgency on our part, and we do plan on having it way before our solid waste management plan is in the final stages.
Yeah, I'm less concerned about that because that is going to go well past April. But the Solid Waste Authority, we just learned earlier this week that the hearing that they said would be within the last week, it's no longer a hearing. It's a public meeting. Part 2 that was promised us back last May, we would had a continuation many months ago. They still don't have a date for it as of the Solid Waste Authority meeting they just had. But my understanding is that they want to have that public meeting before they vote on the contract. And this information would be critical to make them have to look at alternatives under the Act 101 requirements before they sign any new contract, which they have to do by the time their April meeting rolls around. So it is getting kind of time sensitive to at least put these on the table for them to have to look at alternatives while there's still time to make a contract decision.
I think your point is well taken, and I'm hoping we see something soon. Jim McLaughlin, I don't think he's on the call anymore, but I know he probably has the same concerns, and he's on the Solid Waste Authority board, so I'm sure he's going to stay on top of them as well as we are. But thank you for bringing that up, and we can't forget about it, so let's keep bringing it up.
Any other questions? Okay, I'll share my screen again. New business. Is there any new business that anyone would like to bring up? Anyone on the commission? Okay, no new business. Action item review. Okay, so Francine or anyone else?
I have a couple here.
Oh yeah, I have
Jacqueline.
some too.
Jacqueline will not let us forget. Thank you. I got an answer, and it's not good, unfortunately. So our treasurer's office is using a contractor to do the mailings this year, and they have moved far along to the point where they're not going to do it this year for us. It would probably have been in September that I should have brought that to them. Sue DePompio, are you on the line still? She's probably just muted and yeah. Anyway, she helped me talk to our treasurer's office and get information about that. And so I am really disappointed to say that this year it's not going to work. But next year we are going to do this because it's a feasible option. So the treasurer said, yes, it's something we can do easily, but I waited too long, I guess, to get to them. I kept forgetting about that action item. I'm sorry.
That's okay, but it's good to know that we can.
Yes, we can.
Yeah.
Yes. But it's going to have to be next year, unfortunately. But we're going to try and do some things with our staff. So Sue DePompio, who's here, she's probably on the phone somewhere, but she was looking for other ways to get the word out. And so we're thinking about getting it out with our staff member. We have 3,000 people who work for Delaware County and somehow getting it to them through the mailings that we share with our staff.
Did you want to go over what's on your list, Francine, or did you want me to go over my list and you can?
I have two items. One is to share with folks if there's an ability to have a hybrid event for the sustainability conference, to make sure I get back to you folks about that, how we can have the sustainability conference streamed as well. Also, the EV charging station locations throughout the county, sharing maybe at our next meeting, having a presentation with Julie's team to show what we've been doing with that.
Okay. A couple of things that I had on my list was, and these are like we went over these in the agenda, but so I guess that Emily Hoskiny, I guess from the Rose Tree concert series, maybe she can present at the next meeting.
Yes, I will make arrangements to do that. I thought I did make arrangements, but I didn't finish. It's been such a crazy month.
Oh my gosh, there's so much going on. Yeah.
Carol, this is Mark Carroll. She's from the Pennsylvania Resources Council. We're talking about this program to be implemented, this initiative at the summer concert series. Yes.
Okay. Carol was asking if she'll present at the next sustainability.
Okay.
Right.
The answer will be, if she can, yes, we'll definitely, Mark, you and I will make sure we get that answer. I know she was excited to do it. I don't think I followed up with her regarding this particular meeting date, a link to the meeting, and really confirming it. I'll make sure I do that.
And then you'd mentioned the sustainability conference. I just had in my notes that there's going to be a rollout through like social media, and we should like look out for that. And then you will report next time on the results of this sustainability, like the focus areas and the advisory teams. And I think, and then if anyone knows of anyone interested to go on the Solid Waste Authority, that you'll let those people know how to apply, or if you want to apply and things like that. So that was, so I guess that was on my list.
Yes, and also here's another one, and that is to post to our website the slide decks that were shared today so that everyone can take a look at them and click on links, because I think there were quite a few links involved. And Steve Clark just added to make sure that we are going to include heat pumps for the HVAC considerations for Fair Acres, and I think for all of our buildings as we move forward. So I will tell you, Steve, that I'm going to bring that to us again as we move forward with specific projects. We are trying to develop design standards for Delaware County's capital improvement program. So as we start moving forward with that, you'll be involved in the conversation for sure. We don't have design standards now, but as our new director comes into Public Works, I know she's highly familiar with having such standards. Emily talked about LEED certification. We're hoping to have sustainable minded design standards for Delaware County as well, whether or not they're LEED certified or they incorporate all the aspects of LEED and other potential standards.
Excellent. So I guess like our plan is at the start of each Sustainability Commission meeting, we'll go over the action items and get the result. And going forward, we just want to keep track of any of our action items.
Yes.
I'll share my screen again. Oh, public comment. Is there any public comment?
I'm checking again the email. I don't see anything. And this is the Sustain Delco email address, which is on our sustainability website too, just so if anybody needs to check. In terms of sharing that out with folks, the public, to know that they can submit public comment through that way. But there are no emails.
Okay. Anyone from the public here have any questions or comments? Okay, I'll share my screen again, but I think it's just we're up to adjourning here. Okay, actually we're up to adjourning. So if there's nothing else, just thank you.
One thing, Carol.
Okay.
Everybody who had a presentation today, please email them to me. So Alex and Emily and Kathy, I think you already emailed it to me. I think you made revisions, but if you can email them to me, it'd be great so that I can have IT put them on the website.
Okay. So if there's nothing else, just thank you for this great meeting. And it's like one of my favorite meetings to have. So I always feel inspired. So I hope you all feel that same way. So with that, would someone like to make a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I'll make the
We adjourn.
Okay, someone second?
Yeah, I'll second.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Oh, any opposed? Any abstain? Okay, so moved. Our meeting is adjourned. Okay.
All right. Bye, everyone. Have a good weekend.
Have a good one.